Hello there, this is Robert Thibodeau, MayflowerBookshop.com. Today I'd like to share with you more on Rudolf Steiner's meditation indications from GA 266/3, Esoteric Instructions, Volume 3. I already did one talk on this, but I'd like to do another one because it's something that you can never get enough of. And it's Rudolf Steiner is very profound. You can listen to him or read him the same passage a number of times and keep getting new things out of it. And here, Steiner gives us exercises that are critically important by means of which the soul can find its way into the world of spirit. Rudolf Steiner said that anthroposophy, the wisdom of manas, most people say the wisdom of man, that anthroposophy is to discover the spirit within the human being. The soul's awakening to I'm putting it in my words, the soul's awakening to spirit, and how that spirit can find, how our spirit can find the spirit of the universe. The soul can find its way into the worlds of spirit. And Steiner further says that these ideas I'm about to present are woven in all the lectures and texts that he shared. And he refers to it as 5 exercises, but there's really a sixth one, and a 7th is implied. To awaken the energy of these exercises in one's own life. So this particular esoteric lecture was given on January 2nd, 1914 by Rudolf Steiner. The heart concern of every esotericist, every person who's trying to develop their inner life. I'm going to put a lot of this in my own words so you can understand it. So I'm kind of giving you translations from that Austrian peasant wisdom vocabulary of Old German. In the heart, we're concerned as an esotericist to achieve something in meditation. Everyone is successful, even if you don't notice it. There's going to be something that is good that comes from meditating, trying to open one's mind and heart and body and soul to meditation. The esoteric student may complain about pain when trying to meditate, or disorders that arise in the body due to the fact that the physical and etheric bodies are not in connection with each other in the proper way. I want to note that we know our physical body, but our etheric body is related to all of nature around us that we try to flow into. I'm saying that. Such pains or irritations were there before, often there before, But the person in question did not feel them because they were robust and less sensitive. Now, as an esoteric student with subtler, finer awareness, we start to feel every little thing. Every little thing. The esotericist must learn to bear such pains. I want to say that all pain is the labor pain of a higher birth. All pain, rightly understood, is moving us toward recognizing impermanence, really appreciating what we have while we're here. But the suffering that we experience is the labor pain of a higher birth, birthing from the womb of our heart, our higher mind and heart and soul and will. Okay, so back to Steiner, okay? We must learn to bear such labor pains. Here, of course, one has to learn to distinguish whether one's involved in an illness that requires medical intervention or this is just a passing learning situation on our way to meditation. Meditation, again, I'm interacting a lot, and so you're not getting just pure Steiner, you're getting Robert Thibodeau, but meditation is a mediation between the higher and lower self, between oneself and the world. How can it be that we know our physical bodies so little? It is because we live in it and only perceive it through feeling. We see with the eye and therefore cannot observe it. In other words, you don't see the eye, you just see what you're seeing, right? The whole body works like that. The student of esotericism must succeed in withdrawing his soul and spirit, withdrawing the soul and spirit and freeing the self from the physical. Then one will be able to observe the physical body. It is helpful here if we draw our thoughts together as far as possible to a focused point, concentrating them, and then immerse ourselves in this point and live in it for a while. So here's Steiner saying this tricky thing that we have to think about. It's helpful if we draw our thoughts together and focus as far as possible on one point, concentrating all of our thoughts, and then immerse ourselves in this point and live in it for a while. Through such concentration, the power of thinking is intensified, and by this means one can gradually succeed in observing one's physical body. Now you can imagine, I want to say, that you're saying Om, the mantra, Amen, Amen, Amen Ra, or Om, 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 O-M, Om, We practiced saying Om a couple times, and then there's only one thing to drop. We become focused on one thing. We could focus on a virtue, a pencil, one thing, and then drop it. Now, when we drop it, we're either in calm, abiding space equanimity, but Steiner here is saying to find a point, either the virtue, the Om, the one thing we're thinking about, or the point of who's looking. But to find one point here, that the power of thinking is intensified, and then we can look at our physical body. imagine that you chant Om and then you drop the Om, and in silence you imagine you're looking at your physical body. So this is Steiner's approach to meditating and discovering the physical body. Furthermore, we must come to know our etheric body. This is harder. Now, the physical body was first formed. The physical body is first formed on Saturn evolution, the first Earth evolution, of which we're on the fourth. And the etheric body was formed on the second Earth evolution, of which we are now the fourth. And when we get to the fourth, we know it as the plant kingdom versus the first Earth, the Saturn evolution, is now the mineral kingdom. And the sun evolution of the etheric, the sun, is the etheric. Then, of course, the moon evolution is the astral body formulation, and the earth now where we get a sense of self, or I am, through the mystery of Golgotha, the skull. Literally means that. So in coming to know the etheric body, this is harder, for the etheric body is not enclosed in the skin as the physical body is, but is a subtle weft that sends out its currents everywhere into the outer world, and above all, receives impressions from what is happening in the outer world, often quite unconsciously. So if I understand Steiner correctly, when you imagine that you're looking out at nature, you look out the window or you're walking outside, and your sense of perception of what you're perceiving, experiencing, sensing, just expands out and takes it all in. And it moves faster and quicker and more agile than your physical hand. Your physical feet, your physicality can't take in all that you take in through subtle senses as well as seeing. And that is the etheric body, that the reach is beyond the grasp, is a way that I heard it in the early Theosophical days. Now it's the Theosophy of the Rosicrucian. As we have these 7 roses, we end up stopping ourselves in the 4 elements, and we're centered in the 5th, Kasha, at the center of the cross, and the rose that rises is the raising of consciousness. I'm sharing all this, and that we can see these things and experience these things. And so the etheric is this reaches beyond the grasp. And the etheric body is not enclosed in the skin as the physical body is, but it's a subtle sending out of currents everywhere and receiving these impressions of the cosmos around us. One learns to sense the etheric body by proper practice of the second supplementary exercise of Rudolf Steiner, the will exercise. Usually we are driven to actions by external impressions. Something happens and then we act, right? Or react. We see a flower in the meadow. We see a flower in the garden, for instance, and since we like it, we stretch out our hand to pluck it, or to touch it, or to smell it. Now, as esoteric student, we have to succeed in doing this, or that out of an inner impulse alone without external stimulus. We have to succeed in doing this, or that out of an inner impulse alone without external stimulus. So here in the etheric body, we inwardly are reaching out to understand things without having to just react to things that come to us. Then we will come to know that it is the etheric body that causes the hand to move. Thus we feel the etheric body awakening. In order to become conscious of our astral body, rather than being the ass, are we the donkey that finds the birth following the star of the Virgin, Isis or Mary. And do we find that? Do we come to know that? I'm still waking up here. Had a little bit of tea. Okay. In order to become conscious of our astral body, we have to do exactly the reverse of what we did with the etheric. Instead of like letting ourselves reach out and receive from the outside, but we're learning to reach out to sense the world. Here we do the reverse. We have to hold back the desires surging in the astral body and turn inward. We develop composure and equanimity toward whatever comes to us or whatever we want to go to. We have to create absolute stillness, calm, complete peace in ourselves. This is the stillness thinking of the third step of the Foundation Stone meditation too. We could follow it through that. Those 4 steps leading to the 5th is easily related here as the Father, Son, Holy Spirit, and the sense of the heart and mind of the human being. We're at that 3rd step of stillness thinking, Holy Spirit, right? So here we are in the astral body, and Steiner's talking about holding back the desires surging and finding a certain composure and equanimity up here beholding in the Foundation Stone meditation, right? Toward the everything. We have to create absolute calm, complete peace in ourselves. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Om, peace. O is the Saturn evolution, or the Ein Sof. Om, O-M. O is the, I'm saying this, O is the like emptiness practice. O is the nothingness. And then the 3, the M turned sideways is 3. You can see the M as the middle of the alphabet, or you can say it, it's like a 3 turned sideways. And those 3 are the spirit, soul, body, and the deity, God, deity coming forth by day, is the Christos. The deity is the oneness and the radical stillness, taking it all in, giving it all out. Then the second person of the Solar Logos Trinity is the Sun, the only begotten Sun. Is that Osiris, Odin, Mithras, it's like Apollo, it's like Hermes, it's really in this modern day of the precession of the equinox in Pisces, it's the Christos or the Christ. But as we go into the age of Aquarius, what name will we give it? Rudolf Steiner said we're constantly going to have to find new names, especially during the precession of the equinox. And before it was in Pisces, and the first day of spring in the constellation, it was in Aries, the ram or the lamb, and then Taurus the bull, and then Gemini the twins, right? So so here we are. Let's go back to our meditation. We're moving from the physical etheric and now the astral, which is born in the 3rd Earth evolution. And we have calm, abiding space, equanimity. We've learned how to focus and get to the point, and then we've learned our etheric body flows out and lets everything in, and we've learning now to be still and not to flow, and to find calm, abiding peace in ourselves. Only then will we feel the outer astral world push against our inner astral world. See, when we can be totally silent, our feelings and our consciousness feel wanting to go out and something coming in, pushing against it. And that is the experience of the astral world. These meditations are trying to help us. A lot of confusion takes place in us, in our friendships, in our working relationships, in our relationships to the garden, the world around us, because we don't understand the different bodies and what's interacting. And on a kind of a simplistic level, we interact physically, and then in our emotions and feelings, and intellectually, and in our sense of the soul life of sentient intellectual consciousness soul. We have this sense that we're connected to everything and nothing, and we have some kind of awareness or mind about it. I mean, that's a lot of different levels of consciousness in bodies. Like every higher level of consciousness, the lower level of consciousness is the body to that. Get it? And then we have like higher manas, we have this coming to understand everything and to love everything and to be at one with it. I mean, that's the Atma Buddha Manas, right? I mean, that's the spirit self, life spirit, spirit human of Steiner, spirit non. So right now we're back to the astral world and our calmness and pushing and being pulled, and we're just calm. Again, at any point during this sharing that I'm doing, you can pause the recording and ponder, take a note, think about it, experience it, and then go on. So this absolute calm and complete peace in ourselves, so we can experience our astral world, our astral body, our inner and astral world. In the same way that we push against the etheric world by encroaching on it through our will, or receiving it willfully out of ourselves into ourselves, so we can feel the outer astral world by remaining calm and quiet in ourselves, by calming all desires and wishes, attractions and repulsions, sympathy, antipathies. We just calm them, and we experience our push and pull that's happening. That's our astral body. It wants to do something. Rather than the etheric is that we're just open to what the world's presenting and what we're trying to reach out to see. This is a little different. This has desire in it. This has the red blood in it, right? What comes through the red blood. The esotericist, the esoteric student that we are, must reach the point of bearing with calm composure and equanimity all pain and suffering and joy and pleasure and absolutely everything that the external world incites or excites in him or her. Then one will cease to make attacks through the astral body on the outer world. We'll stop just throwing ourselves out there or being beat on because we're just cool, calm, and collected, right? But instead, the so-called, Steiner calls them attacks, I think, I'm sure other translators would have a different word, strong feelings or emotions or pricks, Instead, the attacks will come toward him from without. Then we'll cease to make attack. We'll cease trying to desire and go out for stuff in the outer world. But things come to us from without. But since one has developed complete composure, they only touch the physical and etheric bodies. So this is the experience we're looking for, is that the astral things that come at us, in a sense, all the emotions and feelings and ups and downs and attraction and repulsions that people have. You can see the TV and movies are often the externalization of the astral body. And a lot of the news we see in warring, contesting, conflicting is the externalization of the astral body without this cool, calm, collected composure or the etheric buffer, that the etheric body isn't a buffer that can make peace with St. Francis and Buddha and the idea of Mani and Scythianus and Zarathustra and Buddha are not present in this etheric buffering and mediating of our astral body as it comes into physical, that we haven't really discovered our inner self, and our inner self just like rushes out and causes problems. The astral body craves and desires and gets addicted to any kind of feeling that makes one feel alive, even if you're getting hit. This isn't good. So the astral body, in Rudolf Steiner's point here in the meditation of the astral body, the cool, calm, collected, calm, abiding space equanimity, the wisdom of the Sun Oracle of the Atlantean, Tibetan, Chaldean, Indo-Aryan insight is complete composure. The astral body only affects the physical and etheric. They only touch on it. And that the ego and the astral body are a little bit one step removed. The astral body remains unaffected. It's cool, calm, and collected. It becomes, you may say, free, and one can observe it. It's free of the addiction to sense perception and stuff. Sense free. Thus, through practicing composure, I succeed in getting to know my astral body. Get that? Steiner snuck that in. So, finally, I must also succeed in getting to know the fourth member, my I. I cannot sense my I because I live within it. For this reason, we must pour it out into the world. I come to know my I through what one can call positivity. We just give ourselves to the world through love and our will, our higher will. Steiner says, if we take Jesus the Christ as our example, the embodiment of the second person of the Trinity, the Christos, the Word, if we take Jesus Christ as our example, we cease to see all that is ugly, but immerse ourselves in everything to such an extent that we arrive at the good. This is kind of like the way we idealize a spiritual person, or it's the Messiah, or the Mithras, or the Apollo, or the Krishna, the Buddha mind. I mean, although strictly speaking, intellectually, Buddha is, according to Blavatsky's Secret Doctrine, Steiner points out, is Mercury, and that the Piscean equinox presented this idea of the Messiah or the Christos, the Christ Jesus, as the Venus, or the sun, actually. Instead of Venus being, Venus and Mercury as being the Buddha and the archangels, Dan koans, the archai and perhaps the archangel. We have here the solar logos as the spark of the sun God within us. If you think of it like that, if some people are worried that they don't want to be Christian or something, so you can just really think of this as a metaphor. If I said Apollo or Hermes, a lot of people don't have any problem. So with Christ Jesus, you shouldn't have a problem, because unless you live the life, you don't know anything they're talking about. And so there is no God unless we prove it by the way we live. Is kind of an all-American, street-level, American metaphysical, mystical, spiritual science, that the spiritual science of living the virtuous life and proving that there's something holy by being it ourselves. By walking through the middle door of the Gothic cathedral, the middle way, and entering into a cruciform, a fourfoldness of our physical, etheric, astral, and ego, and standing at the transept and looking at 6 candles with a cross at the center while we're standing on the cross. I mean, this is and the higher light above and the dark below, the crypt below, and the virgin possibility of the earth of creating anything we need, and the light of Michael versus the crypt below of the death and rebirth of the mystery of Lazarus, John, and the mystery of Christian Rosicrucian. The Christian Rosicrucian is the purification and death and rebirth of ourselves, the ever-changing, renewing impulse, versus the light above us. And then we have this experience of being the rose ourselves, that the rose at the transept between the straight line, in the Goetheanum, the straight line to the sun, that we walk through a left and right middle way, and that we have this idea at the Goetheanum of a straight line to the representative of the mind stream continuum. I hope you're following me. If not following, at least holding still in the astral body and calmly reflecting. So we back to this idea of awakening through the spirit soul body, the thinking, feeling, and willing, and the sense of presence and journey. At this point, the journey has walked through the physical awakening by focus and awareness. By focus, dropping the focus and looking at the physical, by realizing how much we're reaching out to understand everything and how we're receiving everything in the cosmos, and watching that etheric body that's greater than, it's beyond our grasp. The reach is beyond our grasp. And then the astral body of being totally calm, cool, calm, and collected. Calm, abiding, space-time equanimity. And now, experiencing the sense of I. To know my I. I cannot sense my I because I live within it. For this reason, we must pour it out into the world. I come to know my I through what one can call being positivity. If we take Jesus Christ as our example, we cease to see all that is ugly, but immerse ourselves in everything to such an extent that we arrive at the good. In this way, we release ourselves from our I, and we can observe it. We just go for the good. We just give ourselves to the world in this positive way that we're going to give and receive, and we're going to identify and drop the focus, and we're going to reach out beyond ourselves, and we're going to be inwardly, as we're doing all these things in the physical and etheric, we're inwardly totally calm and silently aware, and that we just give this positiveness out to the world, even though we don't know always what we're doing. And this positiveness, we can kind of relate. We immerse ourselves in everything to such an extent that we arrive at something good. We learn to see the good, experience the good, be the good. In this way, we release ourselves from our I and can observe it. The I is love and will. The I is love and will. The I is love, will. By developing will, we learn to perceive the essence of all things, which is rooted in the divine. Here we learn to divine the divine and the love and will within each person and their I. We learn to see the physical, etheric, astral, and the I and every other through what people strive for and struggle with. We see there part of them that's calm and still, and the part that is happiness, loving and willing. Through love, we learn to experience the nature of all things. Thus, through will and love, we can penetrate to knowledge which is free of personal ego or separate ego, separativeness. Like the problem ego is the one that acts out of separateness and causes suffering without even knowing it a lot of times. So these are things to ponder, how through will and love we can deepen our perception, our knowledge, free of separatist ego. As a spiritual eye, we can learn to immerse ourselves in the being and essence of all things, which after all originate in the spiritual father ground, as does our own eye. Our eye gazes upon us from all creation. We can see the space and the quietude. We can see the quiet space. We can see the willing activity. We can see the love, wishing to become at one, not atone, but at one, which is atonement. At the fifth level, now we move from the eye, we try to develop manas, or spirit self. Here we may no longer remain fixed upon what we have so far seen. Here we're going to realize that we can't keep hanging on to everything we just learned. We can't be fixed with what we have so far experienced or seen or learned or heard. We must learn to look aside from all this, and in relation to all that comes to meet us, remain as though entirely empty of our past knowledge. Again, this goes back to I often share of Rudolf Steiner mentioning how every once in a while, in our meditative mind, in our cognitive experience, that we empty our perceptions into our heart, and that in this calm abiding space, ceasing of time or all time, we experience a certain selflessness, not I, but the Christ within, not I, but the within, and that we can learn to create out of this nothingness, which is the only thing that is free of karma, is to create out of our selflessness through this enthusiastic enthusiasm of connection to the whole universe, the etheric, and this calm abiding stillness, willing to learn, grow and know, die to become, and rose to the occasion. So this fifth level of spirit self is like the end of the road of the traveling Wilburys. That song. We must learn to look aside from everything we've learned in the past and be empty entirely of our past knowledge. Manas can only be developed if we learn to regard everything that we have acquired through our own thinking as of less value than what we can acquire by opening ourselves to the thoughts that stream into us from the universe-woven deity, the thoughts that stream into us from the deity-woven cosmos. Deity, I think, was more of a greater word, a better word, than a later historical moment where they created the word God, because coming forth by day is the I and the Father are one, is this idea that the universal mind or nous, or the universal knowing at one meant that one with the Father, this Christos, this Christ, this you call it what you will, this only begotten Son. Again, remember, if you're stuck, think of Hermes, Apollo, Athena, you can Artemis, you can think of Mithras, Krishna. There's a lot to think about. The thoughts that stream into us from the God-woven cosmos. These divine thoughts, this opening ourselves to thoughts that stream into us from the deity-woven, weaving cosmos, these divine thoughts that have given rise, that give us a sense of rising to everything that surrounds us, this awakening to everything that surrounds us, this great participatoriness with all life, We have been unable to find this through our previous thinking. Things conceal these thoughts from us. Now we learn to sense the divine behind everything, like a hidden riddle. This is to divining the divine in everything that comes to us. We see it as part of the divine plan and the God-woven cosmos. You get it? This is a sense of discovering and experiencing, perceiving the manas. See, on one level, we quiet down, ponder, and receive these teachings from Rudolf Steiner that I'm paraphrasing in this kind of all-American mystic spiritual scientist way, hoping that you can have a direct experience of it yourself and make it your own, like I'm trying to do, and I'm just sharing how I'm doing it. We each have to figure it out for ourselves, and we have to give up everything we've learned so far to see that everything that's coming at us from the God-woven universe is perfect, and that we don't have to fear it, that it's got divine karma and dharma for opening and freeing and opening us to the truth and higher love, cosmic consciousness. So these divine thoughts that give rise to everything that surrounds us, and we rise to everything that surrounds us. It's a give and take, really. And it's something that we couldn't find in our previous thinking. Things and thoughts, things concealed these thoughts, and thoughts concealed these truths of things that are divine. Now we learn to sense the divine behind everything, like a hidden riddle, like a prize at the center of interaction with everything. Increasingly, we learn to see in humility and selfless how little of these riddles we have so far fathomed, how little we've divined. And we learn that we must really distance from our soul everything that we have so far learned. We must meet everything in a way that is open and unprejudiced, like a child. This is like when you must suffer the little children to come unto me. So this is the initial thing, is that we mirror these things and reflect them, and then we kind of feel them, and it enters, we idealize, and then the ideal becomes something that we try to incarnate and see how it works, and we breathe it into our heart and our inspirational feeling and our intuitive depth to rise, to meet. So when Jesus says, suffer the little children to come unto me, on one level, that's just like letting all of our old self come into this new perception. All the little parts of us that we've projected out, we bring all of our boats home and sink them in our harbor, and we hold still until we can see our true desire to find the I within all beings, the Christos within all beings, the divine in all beings. Eventually, all these different levels work together in harmony. But here we see the divine that riddles us, and the riddle that we divine that surrounds us, which is accessible only to this new openness and impartiality of the soul. The soul must become childlike in order to be able to penetrate into the kingdoms of heaven. Into the childlike soul will stream hidden wisdom. Into this openness of the child, a hidden stream of wisdom, manas, like a gift of grace from the world of spirit. Love is this pure experience. There is no need for human beings to go further than this, Rudolf Steiner says, since through these 5 stages we create connection with the world of spirit. All that is needed now is, by continually repeating these 5 exercises experiencing the physical, etheric, astral, the I, and the manas, spirit self. All that is needed now is to establish harmony between the diverse capacities that are to be gained through them. And this is kind of like the hint of the sixth level of the Buddhic life spirit, Steiner calls it, or the Buddhic. This is the sixth exercise. This is what the sixth exercise brings about, is that there's no need to go further. It's the path of no more learning. Just divining, everything is a divine revelation and a way of being and going and doing, and the way of focusing, the way of dropping, the way of letting go, sense free, feeling free, willing free. At the same time, we're willing, selflessly divining the will and the feel and the perception, right? Through these 5 stages, we are co-creating the world and its connectivity through spirit. And all that's needed is a sense of now. Now is Isis. Yeah, the now is now it is. By continually, I am that I am turns into is this it is. I'm making that up, okay. By continually repeating these 5 exercises, a harmony arises between the diverse capacities that are to be gained through this experience. And this is the 6th level. These exercises are of the greatest importance, Steiner says. By means of them, the soul can find its way into worlds of spirit. Everywhere in all anthroposophic texts, lecture cycles, and lectures, you will find references to these 5 exercises. And no esoteric lessons would need to be held if you were to carefully read and understand these things and awaken the power of these exercises to life. Awaken to life this energetic and power within you. Steiner says that. They serve as a support to the diverse, specific main exercises. So that's my sharing of Rudolf Steiner's meditation observations and sharing from January 2nd, 1914. And it's helpful to meditate first thing in the morning, last thing at night, and somewhere in the middle of the day. If you have one good meditation once a day, whether it's in the morning or the middle of the day or the end of the day. I, these days, have been doing the end of the day, even though when I was younger, I would only meditate once in the morning. But you do this meditation and go through these 5, 6 exercises, and perhaps the 7th, the 7th exercise is just everything that's happening in your life and nothing's happening. But if you do it once a day, in the morning or the evening, you perform this joy and task once a day. And then every once in a while throughout your day, if you get lost, you just think about the meditation you do once a day as like a one whole thought. You think of like everything we just did is one thought. But it's really important when you meditate that you go through the stages of it, because we're on the 4th earth and there's 3 earths to go. And to be able to consider the 5th and 6th and 7th step in light of the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. to consider the 5th, 6th, and 7th as a sense of 3, 2, 1 takeoff. I guess what all I'm really saying here, it's important to do the stages step by step. And it's important during the day, if you get lost, to just empty your breath and take a deep breath in and experience your stillness that's free of karma. And breathe out with this sense of at-one-ment awareness, love and will, goodness, and giving up and letting go and entering the world and seeing what comes back in our cool, calm collective. So this is Robert Thibodeau of Mayflower Bookshop in Berkley, Michigan, 48072. I'm available at mayflowerbookshop.com. If you're inclined to gift or donate money or a book to help support this high school of free education and invisible college of Mayflower Bookshop, a bookstore and a meeting center for the invisible schooling of the spiritual soul. Yeah. So this is Robert Thibodeau, Mayflower Bookshop, mayflowerbookshop.com. This is all I have to share today, and I hope it was helpful. And I hope you can learn to meditate every day and make a little space in your house, in some room or corner of your bed or on the floor somewhere or a chair, and be comfortable and learn to let go of your breath, breathe into your stillness, and contemplate these divine inklings and inclinations so that you can be still and know and go into the world every day brave and wholehearted with an open mind for truth and love and sharing until the whole world's enlightened. May we be friends. Blessings.